Welcome back to my channel. This is a channel of information. I had an awakening 4 years ago. Well, the awakening process happens at the time of your birth, and there's a series of events that happen that you don't really realize until you have the big event, which brings you into full realization of where you are. This channel is here to assist you who is confused, scared, misled by the love and light community. If you want to understand what the Matrix is all about, if you want to understand the magic of numbers, if you want to learn about the demonic energies that we are constantly battling on a moment-to-moment basis. No, I'm not schizophrenic. Schizophrenia, and this is the topic today, is schizophrenia or psychic abilities or entity attachments. If you want to believe the 3D version, you're schizophrenic. If you want to understand that you are having psychic abilities and possible entity attachments, I can help you there. Because anything in the 3D world that's in this physical is a lie. And I know it's hard to understand that because I was sitting where you're at. And through my own psychic ability, awareness, and development, I was able to understand that anything in the psychological world is man-made, had good intentions, but was manipulated, and many people, many souls suffered tremendously at the hands of this field of medicine. So I want to give a disclaimer first. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a healthcare professional. I do work with surgeons and I work in a medical office, but I don't have any training. All I have is my life experience, and I'll give you the information. You can do what you will. I'm just looking at my third eye, and I see a heart there. I've been seeing those a lot lately. And you're going to understand the synchronicities. They call them synchronicities, but they're really just spliced up timelines that are meant to come in. And I'm going to use, this metaphysical term of the universe. The universe wants to give you a message, but it's really your own soul giving you a message, because you are a co-creator. You are source incarnated in the physical. Where to begin? There's so much to talk about. I don't want to go into my own personal history because unless I need to draw on it for experience purposes, I will go ahead and tell you. I want to make these videos short and sweet, full of information, but not too much to overload you. So schizophrenia and what I've learned about it, and if you Google it and go look up what it is, the professionals say it usually starts due to trauma in the early childhood, and then it develops while the person is in their teens. Usually starts to develop around, of course, puberty. And puberty is a ripe timeline for entity attachments because we're experimenting with drugs, we're experimenting with alcohol, we are practicing our freedom from parents, especially if you're coming from an abusive household where drugs and alcohol are abused, where neglect, where you are beaten, any violence in the home, separation, all that plays into in the 3D version of schizophrenia, which now you could come from a perfectly good household and still get schizophrenia, and they'll say, oh, it's genetic. Well, guess what? It's not genetic. It's karmic to go through particular circumstances in your childhood, and that's a whole other video. But if you look up the symptomology of schizophrenia, look up the symptomology of psychic abilities, and then look up the symptomology of entity attachments, and you will get your answer. Ask yourself, if you're suffering from what they say is schizophrenia. First of all, you don't develop schizophrenia at age 49, okay? You don't develop schizophrenia according to the books. And I have a friend who's a psychologist, and I'm going to run it by her. Later on in life, you develop other things like supposedly depression and suicidal thoughts and blah, blah, blah. Those are other things that occur on a remember, when you're multidimensional, you're not going to see things in one aspect. There's so much going on simultaneously, and especially when you're psychic, you start receiving information from all levels of consciousness, not just one level of consciousness. It's all over the place. That's why it's very hard for me to keep to the program, and I have to write down what I'm going to say, because I start getting a lot of overloaded information, and then my mind's all over the place. So I wanted to stay on the topic of schizophrenia. So if you think you're schizophrenic, I beg you and I urge you to look into ESP and psychic abilities and entity attachment. Don't be afraid to look into a spiritual reason why you're hearing voices, a spiritual reason why you see things that other people don't see, a spiritual reason why you are special. You are an angel. You are very special, and pumping your body full of medications. I'm not, telling you that you should leave your medications, and I'm not condoning anything that I'm saying. And for purposes of security, nothing I say is true here, because we are in a reality where everything is backwards. So if you're under the care of a doctor and you're taking medications, you ask your doctor before you can get off of your medications. Suicide is a symptom of these entity attachments. And I had them when I was 15, and I'll refer back to that later on. But I didn't know what they were at the time, because when you're 15, you're not even fully developed in your head. All you're doing is listening to what adults are saying, and your parents, and your so-called professionals. It's all quackery. It's all quackery in this reality, in this 3D matrix reality. If you're where I'm from, which is what we were told is planet Earth, then you're in the same boat I am. Anyway, back to the schizophrenia. Schizophrenia for me is basically you blew out your third eye, what is known to be the third eye in the chakra system. If you're familiar with the Hindu traditions, the third eye is the sixth chakra in the system of 7. Look it up on Google. Because we're doing a lot of drugs and alcohol at a young age, this third eye, which is connected to your pineal gland, becomes sensitive. A lot of kids that do acid, mushrooms, severe drug intake, and I'll talk about Walter later on, but when you have a tremendous amount of chemicals going into the body, this is affecting the pineal gland. You blow out your third eye. Also, connect that with severe trauma, childhood trauma, neglect, and all that other stuff I told you earlier. You connect all of that together, you will get someone who will be labeled as a schizophrenic. What happens is your third eye blows out. You are connected to the etherical world immediately. You start to see things, hear things that aren't there. You start to hear voices. The voices that are telling you that you're no good and that are badgering you are demons. People talk about, You know, I got to deal with my demons. Well, you have demons. These demons are real. The only thing is, in the 3D world, they're going to find an explanation for it because they have an explanation for everything, but they don't want to make it spiritual. And I'm not a religious person, and I could go into that later on, what religion is. But for right now, for the schizophrenics who have been deemed schizophrenic, if you're young, if you're a parent that has a child that you feel or think is schizophrenic, or please look into psychic abilities, entity attachments. Now, this doesn't mean that your kid has to go through an exorcism. It doesn't mean that they are going to be helpless their whole life. What you do want to do is have compassion, patience, and stop pumping your children full of pharmaceuticals. This is killing them, literally killing them. And then I have a lot of like commentaries, because I'll go on YouTube sites where they're showing videos of people who are schizophrenic and living with schizophrenia. And then one lady had multiple personality disorder. I could see the fucking energies all over her body, telling her what to say. And when I tried to tell her that she wasn't sick, that she was just channeling energy, I was told I was schizophrenic. Yeah. So, anyway, there's a lot of information out there on psychic abilities. I wanted to touch upon it so that you know that your child is not crazy. There's no such thing as crazy. If your child is unique and is not fitting into this 3D matrix, your child is an angel. Let them not fit in. It's okay. Let them express themselves as they need to express themselves. If you smother them with this 3D bullshit, they're going to die, or they're going to want to kill themselves, which a lot of times they do. Anyway, if you have any comments about this or any experiences, I could give you my experiences. We can get in touch. I'll leave my email address link on the bottom in the comment sections. Let's talk about this. Let's bring it out in the open. That schizophrenia is not a mental illness. There's no such thing. Let's talk about the possibility that could be psychic abilities, that you could be an angel. You're here for a greater purpose. Why don't we talk about that? I'm functional. I mean, I've had my struggles. I do spend money I don't have. Yes, I have credit card debt. But you know what? I pay my bills on time. I own my own home. I have been at the same job for 15 years. I've had issues in interpersonal relationships with men, but I'm resolving those issues. And I'll go into that later on. But I hope you guys research. Really, don't take the 3D explanation of what is happening to you or your children or your loved ones. Investigate spiritual psychic abilities and entity attachments, and this will free you from a lifetime of medication that is meant to kill you, to dumb you down, and to fuck with your consciousness. All right. I'll post another video as I feel inspired. If you have any questions, contact me. Thank you.